going to be live on YouTube and Facebook any second.
Well, that means it starts recording straight away, doesn't it? So we've got to be ready.
No, it doesn't. I click record, but people can see us now. Oh, look, they see us laughing. And then we go to YouTube, and then I have it up, and then because people start asking questions. So we are live on Facebook and YouTube right now. I'm just going to go. So look, smiley. Oh, you just blow your nose right there live on air. Go ahead.
Well, I've got to get ready, haven't I?
Everybody's watching you, Phil. Hopefully people are laughing at this right now.
At least we're not recording.
Yeah. Let's see your videos. Oh, there it is. Multi-stream.
Live on custom live streaming service.
Oh, live. There we go. There's a live section on our thing. So I'm going to edit this.
There's a few people that like to watch the show. I ought to send them the link straight away.
So new year, new you, right?
Yep, I reckon we'll do that.
So people can just watch us fumbling around right now.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to send the link to a few people.
This is so much easier, this system, though. So
brilliant.
Oh, what's playing? That's. All right, it's on your wall. Good.
Amazing.
All right. I'm going to hit record. You ready? You shared it?
No, just a second. Just a second.
Okay.
When we get going, I can share it a bit more than Phil. I need to figure out a better way of sharing than what I'm doing now. Okay, buddy, I'm back with you. Let us know when you're starting and we'll start the show.
Hitting record. Record to the computer. Well, hi, I'm Phil.
And I'm Phil.
And this is the Phil and Phil Show to begin 2021.
And we're going to start with a small series of New Year, New You.
Wow, that sounds exciting. What's that about?
So it's about, everyone gets really excited, don't they, about the new year, and they decide they're going to drink juice for a day, and then that's it. They decide they're going to do yoga for a day, and then that's it. They're going to jump on a rebounder for a day, and that's it. They're going to stop drinking alcohol for a day, and that's it. So I thought the whole thing, Phil, with the New Year, New You thing was so we can share our lifestyles and what we do. And next week we've got Samado Sibley, which he's going to be a great guest to kick us off with, first guest of this new amazing year. And he's a plant-based chef, specializing in raw food. He's Michelin 5-star, so he's going to be great to come on for you guys to get inspired to continue doing what you set out to do in the new year. Because you know what I really want for me and Phil to be able to do is inspire you guys as well as us. So we actually don't just do, juice for a day. We actually do juice for the year. We actually jump on the rebounder for the, not for the year, but every day for the year. We do the yoga, you know, if we do the yoga weekly, maybe daily, you know, whatever you choose. Let's see if we can help each other to actually be successful in our new year ventures, so we can actually have a new year and a new us, right?
Yes, exactly. Sorry, somebody just commented on Facebook.
Oh, good. I've got a comment. That's fabulous.
Yeah. But carry on.
Okay. There's two of us on the show, you know.
Oh, you mean I have to talk too?
Yeah, you got to join in. Yeah, you got to join
I thought
in
it was just the Phil show.
No, that was
Phil.
last week, the Phil show.
But I'm Philip, you're Phil, so there's really it's just you and you. It's the you and you show.
the me and me show. Oh.
Well, no, I what I wanted to start just go connect into too on that is we made it through 2020, which is pretty amazing. So I just want to think about the things I'm grateful for, and definitely like we went through a really intense year, you know, about 9 months of intensity for everybody, and we're still here and we're still thriving, and we set up our show right at the beginning. So I'm really grateful that, you know, you and I, we jumped on this and inspired to do a show, and we've done it almost every week throughout since we started. I think we missed like three weekends or something. Yeah, one of those I did the Me and Me Phil show. So that's but just, yeah, we made it through, and it's been challenging, and I got knocked off my path through this year, and I think everybody did. Like, I was meditating twice a day. I was stronger in my practice, and there's many good things have happened, but I kind of got knocked off my path a little bit and got like sucked into too much of the world and too much of like the social media and everything that's going on the external, and kind of neglected my internal a little bit.
And that's when you need it the most.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, of course, is when we need that the most. That's when we need our spiritual practice, or whatever it is, whether it's going out, walking in nature, riding your bike, whatever it is that connects you, going to stone circles like you do. And we've kind of lost some of those things, some of them group things, like you were doing fire circles regularly. And, you know, the year kind of stopped that a little bit. So we've been buffeted around, and it's been tough, you know. So I think this is a year where we go, okay, let's get back on track.
Yeah, cool. You know, one of the things I've been really grateful for in me is, you know, not having this roller coaster of emotion, and managing to stay relatively stable within all of this, and not getting sucked too far down that, you know, there's so many rabbit holes to follow, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's too easy to, you know, I get people sending me loads of really, really interesting information, and I could have just got lost down, you know, kind of other people's rabbit holes of what they found really interesting. And, you know, and to an extent I've done it. I've had a look, and I've dipped my toes into different things that I wouldn't have done. So I'm very grateful for the fact that I had the opportunity to check out other things and look at other things that I possibly wouldn't have done, and you know, and to broaden my horizons and my ideas and my knowledge base. So you know, that on a level has been really interesting. But I think because of my practice, so to speak, what I've done over the years, I have actually managed to stay stable and not be on that roller coaster. And I'm really grateful. You know, and the show's been great, Phil, with you, having you there every Sunday, and, you know, making us commit to each other, because this is what we've been wanting to do for nearly 15 years. Not speak every Sunday, but certainly speak a lot more than we did. Mm-hmm. So I'm really, you know, there's actually a lot to be grateful for with the lockdown. I think if we hadn't have had lockdown, it wouldn't have pressured us into doing this show, feeling that we needed to get some good information out there that wasn't, you know, the mainstream wasn't doing what we were doing, you know, and doing our best to keep it upbeat and positive and what can you do to support yourself. So I'm really grateful for that. You know, and lockdown also enabled me to go and do a 38-day fast. So I was really grateful. For me, I dove so much deeper into myself, into spirit, into my spirituality, into my evolution. And I think David Icke actually said it really well, Phil. The other night I watched something of his and he said, it seems like the awakened are becoming more awake and the asleep are becoming more asleep. So actually it's forcing us, it's forcing that to happen. And the people that are into transformation and waking are waking, and those that are into CNN and BBC are just getting more into it and going, well, you know, this is the way and it's the only way. So I think, you know, that there is that definite divide, and there's those of us that are really looking into evolution and consciousness and, you know, waking up, which there's lots of connotations now with the woke movement and everything else, but realizing that actually the only way we're going to get out of this chaos is to dive deeply into ourselves, because the outer is a reflection of the inner, and the outer is reflecting. I think we spoke about this maybe yesterday or the day before, Phil, about how everyone's looking externally to solve the problem, and actually the only way we're actually going to heal this problem and solve this problem is to heal ourselves.
Right, exactly. And I just want to go back to a point you're talking about, like this kind of divide of awakening, but I think there's a subtle level to that and it's kind of maybe in the middle somewhere, because we've got this big divide of like people just going along with the mainstream, but then I think there's another divide going on of like splitting us into supporter of this political party or this political party, and then the rabbit holes you can go down with either. And it's like, I think Gable talks about this, is like, I mean, it's useful to gather the information so you're strong, but there is a point where it's like, is continually going down that rabbit hole helping you evolve? Is it going to take you inside? I mean, or is it getting you more and more angry, more and more frustrated, more and more away from your soul and your spirit? Because it's like, we could go down rabbit holes forever. I mean, it's like they've been, you know, the conspiracies and all that's been going on for hundreds of years, and it's like we can go down that hole forever. But if it's taking you away from your soul, from your spirit, then what good is that, you know? But if you can kind of gather the information and use it to empower you and then stay strong, then great. But if you're losing yourself in it, losing yourself, you know, losing your spirit, losing your connection to your soul, then it's not helpful, and you'd be better off just turning off everything, whether it's the alternative media or the regular media, because both of them definitely could be traps. And we talked a little bit about that, and we're not going to get into politics, but that divide of us and them kind of thing.
Yeah, so, you know, for me, when I found myself going down the rabbit hole, I was just like, absolutely, Phil, it takes me away from myself, you know. And I found by going down the more useful videos on YouTube of healing myself, you know, how can I connect with myself more, and whether that's getting inspired to do a bit more meditation, or whether it's inspired to do certain meditations, you know, like New Year's. I went to bed early New Year's Eve, so New Year's morning I got up and went to the stone circle and hung out with the stones, and I said a few intentions and walked around those, and just, you know, I was with them for an hour. So I was doing my best to find things that actually encouraged me to connect with myself and heal with myself, you know, doing breathing exercises when I woke up in the morning, you know, kind of doing prayer and affirmations when I would go to bed at night to help me sleep deeper and better, and, you know, to help me stay with myself while I'm sleeping and not get dragged off into that dream world.
Stop. What? Tell me more about that. What's that?
I've done something now, haven't I? What's what, Phil?
You like stay with yourself, but and not go off into the, what? What does that mean?
Well, for a long time now, I've woken up in the morning and it feels like I've been at battle.
Mm-hmm.
So do you ever get that, Phil?
Yeah, you feel exhausted, and you're like,
Yeah.
I went to bed early, I wasn't stimulated in any way, but why do I? And I had like at least 8 hours. Like, why am I exhausted? Yes,
Yeah.
right.
And not only waking up feeling exhausted, but waking up feeling like it's like, wow, what happened to me in my sleep last night? where, you know, I remember Kay and I had these conversations about, man, it's like I've been battling all night. No actual dream about it as such, but just it's like, where have I been in the night? What happened to me? And then I was watching a video by, have you come across Laurie Ladd yet, Phil?
I've heard of this person, but I think I might have seen something, but yeah.
Yeah, so I've watched quite a few of her videos, and actually she talks of this about us going off actually basically like astral traveling in our sleep. So we actually, like, our spirit leaves our physical body while it's sleeping, because the spirit just keeps on doing its thing, and we go off and do all sorts of funky things. So she said one day to, when you go to bed at night, talk to your, I'm pretty sure she called it your light family. So, you know, all the people that are etherically in your world. And I thought, because this happens, you know, we kind of go off on adventures, we go off on missions. And I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a go, because I wake up feeling like, God knows where, you know, it's like I've had a meeting with the Galactic Federation or something when I've been off sleeping. It's like, man, that was a full-on night. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna try this. Who knows where I go to or what I do, whatever happens. So I started putting my hand on my heart and my other hand on my sacral chakras. And I just started breathing and going, okay, right. I'm going to call in my light family and I'm going to chat with you and say, look, I have no idea what's going on. I've got no idea what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to really request that you guys make sure that I stay in my body all night long, so I can sleep deeply and rejuvenate and feel like I've slept in the morning. And, you know, who knows what actually happens? All I can tell you is, ever since I've been doing that, I've woken up going, oh yeah, I went to sleep last night. I didn't go off and have a chat with the Galactic Federation or whoever it is, that
whatever it is,
whatever it is I go off to chat to.
It could be as simple as you just embedded a command to you not going off into the, I mean, we don't really know, do we? But it's like being open to all that possibility. But the fact is you set that intent, which is the first step.
You know, and really I set the intention to have a peaceful night's sleep. So whether you believe in astral travel, the Galactic Federation or whatever, it doesn't really matter. The bottom line is I set an affirmation for me to have a peaceful night's sleep. Oh, seems like I need another one. And then, so I can wake up in the morning feeling like I haven't been on an adventure.
Right.
And actually, since I've been doing that, I have, you know, peaceful night's sleep, and I don't feel like I've been on an adventure. Because if I go on an adventure, right, I'd really like to know what was going on it and not just wake up feeling like I've been on it with no recollection at all. That's no fun.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe if I practice this, I might get to actually partake in the adventures and not just do it without knowing it.
Yeah, and I think just So I mean, what is sleep anyway? I don't think anyone really even knows. We don't know. Yeah, at least
I don't think your dad knows what sleep is.
He doesn't. He's always working.
I remember when I was up with him in the summer. Well, not last summer now, the summer before. And we were talking about energy and sleep. And your dad said to me, and Alan, if you're watching, correct me if I'm wrong, that he doesn't really know what tiredness is.
Right.
He's always had so much energy. In fact, he said, I've had so much energy, Phil, I didn't know what to do with it all.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that's that. And the stuff your dad's achieved, even in the 10 years that he's been at that house.
Right.
You know, that's like 20 people. It's just all the stuff he's made and built and the vision that he had, the garden, the house, you know, it's just, and I was like, wow, that sounds amazing.
Right.
To have so much energy, you don't know what to do with it. At the moment, I know what to do with it. I ain't got any to follow it. That's the exact opposite problem.
Right.
So yeah, that conversation I had with your dad really stuck with me.
So yeah, so I mean, just kind of going back to like the rabbit holes and stuff. It can be like, I think a lot of people now, especially even more right now, is everybody's looking for a savior on either side of like the divide. They're looking for this savior, but really the message is, and I think everybody must feel this. They know something's not quite right. They know something's off, and it's in the heart and the gut. It's just like a feeling that something is not quite right. But what do we do with that? Do we go out and go, okay, well, let's fight this side or that side? It's like that's what's the message for me. It's like we just need to go deeper within, and I want to make my practice stronger this year. Do more meditation, slow down, like don't get into the stories. The stories are a distraction, and it's part of the play, I think. I think we just got to just settle down, calm the nervous system down, because the battles that are going on in the physical world, you know, whether it's between political parties or the medical thing or the health thing, it's just like, can we slow it right down and come into our center while the storm is raging all around us?
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. And that's the thing with the new year, new you is, let's put those practices in, whatever they are. For me, a big one for me is obviously my diet, and I'm always playing around with that and changing it, and my lifestyle. At bed, when I go to bed at night, making those affirmations. In the morning, if I wake up early in the morning, sometimes I wake up at 3 or 4, so I meditate. I do a
Nice.
breathing. I don't know that I meditate really. I do a breathing cycle, and I become very conscious on the breath. And when I wander off, I come back to the breath and do the breathing and do breathing cycles. Some mornings I do that for an hour or 2 hours.
That's great. Well, meditate, like you say, I don't know if it's really meditation, but meditation is, it's just a practice that helps quiet your mind, basically, and then you can kind of connect and go beyond the mind. That's it, really. And whether that for somebody, it might be just walking down the trail, being at peace, noticing every step. Thich Nhat Hanh did that. It's like with each step, each peaceful step, and just like slowing down, quieting the mind. So it can be in time in nature, it could be cold water, it could be a formal meditation, it could be a guided meditation, it could be breath. It really doesn't matter. It's what brings you peace in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit. And it's what practices are. And I think maybe we can revolve a whole life around, like, at least, from my experience, being with Gabriel, it's like, can we set a whole life around that? And we can do things in the world, and we can act in the world, and we have a character, and we have an ego, and we've got this thing that the ego is bad or something like that. But the ego is just our way of interacting with the world, and it can be good or bad. It's not either. And that's our character. But if it comes from a place of disconnection, where we've got no connection with spirit, then it's going to be maybe a not so good ego. But if it comes from a place of centeredness, groundedness, peace, quiet mind, then we're going to have a different expression, I think. So
yeah, and I guess from doing that, Phil, when I started practicing being in the now, and I've been doing that for probably 10 years, I should think. And actually, I was talking to a young man the other day about it, and it's like, The Power of Now of Eckhart Tolle. And I was like, well, I don't know really what I thought of that. And then I went back to him and said, actually, do you know what? I think I've just thought about it. And actually, I think it had much more of an impact on me than I gave it credit for. Because actually, what I started doing when I was at work was, whenever I made a mistake,
mm-hmm.
or I was doing a lot of timber framing with lots of hammers and nails, and I kept bashing my finger,
mm-hmm.
or tripping over something. And what I learned from that was to always say, So where was I? Why did
Mhm.
I do that? And the biggest thing I've come out of it, when everyone says to me, oh, it's just an accident, Phil, it's like, no, it isn't an accident. You weren't present.
Right.
So from that practice that I've been doing now for about 10 years, there's never an accident.
Mhm.
It's because I'm going to own this one. If I have an accident, if I fell off of a roof 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and luckily, because of the practice that I've been doing, the little voice inside said, Phil, just turn around and hold on to the gutter and as you're going down and you'll be okay. So I spun around and grabbed hold of the gutter in and lowered, just kind of, and then when I eventually hit the floor, it wasn't far. It was about 12 feet, I suppose.
Mhm.
And then when I eventually hit the floor, this little voice said again, Phil, you've got to stand up. If you fall over, you're going to break your legs. So you've got to stay standing up. So as my body, I hit the floor and I started to crumple, this voice made me stand up straight. And
Wow.
I was tangled inside the ladder. And I had a bruise on the front and back of my leg. And sure enough, I think if I had have actually fallen over, I probably would have snapped my leg. And but the thing from that is the gratitude that I had was, I stood there and looked up at the sky and went, wow, thank you. And that transformed any trauma and shock was gone because of the gratitude. The gratitude was so big, there was no shock and trauma. I just picked the ladder, stuck it back on the roof and went back on again. Because it was almost like nothing had happened, except the process that I went through was, okay, where was I at that moment in time that I stood on that ladder?
Right.
And I wasn't thinking about the job. I wasn't thinking about where I was. I was thinking about, I can't remember what I was thinking about, but I was aware that I just wasn't present in that moment in time. What a lesson.
Right. And that you can expand that out into everything, whether it's a physical thing. Well, I mean, this was all different physical things, but like a physical thing of falling off a ladder to how do we react? So we get angry at a friend or a coworker or a spouse, a partner, like if we're totally present, like it's going to be a different experience. But if we react, like, we know when we react, or we react out of anger, or we send an angry text or email or say something out of anger, we know that's an unhealthy space. And it's really hard when you're in that moment in you're almost out of your body, or you're stuck in your head and you're not connected to your heart, and we react. And we're gonna do that sometimes. But if we can come back into that space, or we can find a way to break that pattern, go for a walk, connect to the earth, like it can make a difference, laugh or something, or look to the sky and be in gratitude. I love that. It's like you went into gratitude and that shifted your energy. So you could have been angry, like, oh, I'm so stupid, I fell off the ladder, and it's like, I'm not balanced, or whatever. You could have kind of beat yourself up, but you just went into gratitude, which is really cool.
And I was so grateful not to be injured.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was, and that was the moment that I really got the power of gratitude, because it literally, I hit the floor. As I went to crumple, I stood up, and in that moment, I knew that I was okay, and then I realized with that gratitude actually transforms anything and everything instantly. I don't know how I or anyone actually accesses that gratitude from moment to moment with that. When I was doing my shamanic work, I remember being taught that for something to manifest, you have to pack it, you have to hone the question, number one. So be really clear on what the question is. And number two, you have to pack that with emotion. Now, what I did was I packed that gratitude. That gratitude was packed to the brim with emotion. And in that moment, with all that emotion, which is energy in motion, there was no trauma.
Right. Yeah, it's and the Dr. Joe Dispenza, great meditator, he talks about that. It's like putting yourself into an elevated state of emotion, and it takes practice to do that. But people go, well, this bad thing happened to me, so I'm angry, or this, this thing, and it's like this roller coaster, and it's like, and it takes your daily practice, your meditation, your breath work, your time in nature to kind of hone that. But people go, well, I did my affirmations, I am healthy. But if there's no emotion, if there's no passion in those, whether it's with a gratitude that you're already in that space, we're not setting this intention that something in the future where we have the power to experience that emotion as if it's already happened. So those elevated emotions, gratitude, love, compassion, caring, all of those things are elevated emotions that bring us right into that present moment in our intentions and our visions, so.
Yeah. So, and what you're kind of talking about there as well, Phil, is owning the fact that you're healthy, owning the fact that you're grateful. And affirmations, if you're just reading off a load of affirmations, it's a complete waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people are like, when I get this, or please can I have, it's like, that's not now, that's past or future. We have to be right now, right? So we have to be grateful for having amazing health. We have to be grateful for having amazing water. We have to be grateful for having electricity. Be grateful for having a microphone for your show, whether it's yours or not. Whether whatever it is, we actually have to be grateful that we've got it, whether we've got it or not.
Well,
we have to act like we've got it.
Yeah, and these elevated emotions. So someone's gonna go, well, when I get, we were talking about it, like my Ferrari or my 38-acre estate. You were talking about that. You went on a workshop, but when I get that, then I'll be happy. Or when this happens, then I'll be happy. So, because what is the intent of getting that Ferrari? You think that Ferrari is going to give you joy and gratitude and feeling whole. And I think the goal, and ancient teachers have said this, is like, feel the gratitude now. Like, that's the most important thing. And maybe you'll get a Ferrari if you need a Ferrari. And if you don't, you won't, but it doesn't really matter of that thing. It's like, can you come into a place of peace, of love, of gratitude in this moment? And yeah, we're in the physical world. So, maybe we need a car, maybe we need a microphone, maybe we need to do a show, maybe we need to get an airplane flight, all of those physical things. But it's like, it's not those things that make us happy. It's the shift in our internal state where we realize we are happy and we are grateful.
Yeah,
off on one today, aren't I?
yeah, fab, Phil. So I want to add to that now about, the new year, new you. And, you're talking about that shift of being peaceful and being happy inside. One of the most profound shifts I ever had was actually when I was dry fasting. So that's 0 by mouth, no food, no water, no nothing, by mouth. And I only did a short one. I did 24 hours. And I went out shopping. Probably not the best thing to do when you're dry fasting. But I went out to our local supermarket and I was shopping, and I was sat in the car park. This was before lockdowns. This was probably a year or 18 months ago. This particular thing happened. And I was sat in a van, and all of a sudden this peaceful curtain came right down through my body. And I thought, this is bizarre. I'm sat in a van in a car park with loads of people around, loads of cars around, busy on a Saturday morning. And I feel absolutely tranquil and peaceful. And I was like, wow. So I didn't really get what I thought I was going to get from the dry fasting. But what I got was that feeling of peacefulness, which came over not just my mind or my brain, but my entire body. There was no longing, there was no hunger, there was no missing, there was nothing. And I thought, wow, I've never actually heard anyone talk of this level of peacefulness. And I didn't realize that, I've heard people talking about getting peace through meditating, or getting peace from being in the mountains, or being in caves, or being skydiving. I've heard about people putting themselves in these extreme places. Well, I guess I was in an extreme place on a level. I guess someone would say 24 hours without any food or water is quite an extreme place to put yourself in. So I guess actually I was in an extreme place. But the peace,
Right.
and even talking about it now, I can relive that level of peace that just came right through my whole being. So a new year, new you, fasting to renew yourself, to renew your cells, to renew your mind, to renew your state, to renew your well-being. Fasting is an amazing gift to give yourself, whether
Right.
it be a solid food fast where you're drinking and juicing, whether it's a juice fast where you're just taking juice in, whether it's a smoothie fast where you're just drinking smoothies, whether it's a water fast where you're just drinking water, or like I did, which was dry fast. That was a 24-hour dry fast. I haven't done long. The longest I've done is 44 hours, which is nearly 2 days of no food or water.
So I think what was happening as you stepped into that dry fast, you'd taken away all of the clutter. You weren't focused on food. It brought you, what it did, it brought you into the present moment. And whether that's, for some people, like they get that moment in skydiving, but we can get that moment in any time. And the more we experience that, the more, like you say, you can just close your eyes and go step right into that. And it's like, it's the more we have of those experiences, the more we can kind of feed off them, I think. So
what was interesting though, Phil, with that, I then did that 44-hour dry fast.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen.
Okay.
It's like I finished, I came off the fast and, drank some water, and it's just like, that didn't happen. So that isn't something that comes with dry fast. That isn't something clearly that comes with the dry fast.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, I mean, but it's like, if I do this, I'll get this. It's like, no, you just did that because you needed to do a fast, not because you wanted to have that experience. So the more we live in alignment with our truth, the more we'll have those experiences, I think. And so when I was in England last year, I spent a month, I was out of balance, the city life and everything, came home for a month, and every day I was just doing simple things. Like I wasn't doing anything fancy or creating anything. It was just like every day I would walk up to the little waterfall that was by my parents' house and jump in it. And then I would pick some food from the garden and just eat food and rest and read. And it was just like a moment, like I think like 2 weeks in, where I just started crying. It's like I didn't know why I was crying, but it was like this joyful energy, and I was just like, it's not like I didn't get something. I didn't go, oh my God, I got this new thing, or I had this amazing experience. Like it wasn't anything I did. I just started crying, and it was like I can tap into that moment at any time. And it was just like there was this joy, and I think it was just that simplification. As we simplify, I had no goals, like I need to do this and I need to go to work, and like I took all that was taken away, and it was just I don't know why it happened, but I think it was some aspect of like just taking away the clutter and not trying to achieve something, or having like, okay, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this. It was just like kind of tapping a little bit more. I think I was tapping more into the natural rhythms of nature, of myself, and what makes me tick. So yeah.
Well, you gave yourself space, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this new hectic world that we're in, I was talking about it today. A mate of mine was down at our little primary school where me and him went to primary school together back in the 70s. And he phoned me up and said, I've completely lost my thread now. That's
all right. So I just wanted to tap into that. I don't know how this connects to, but this is what popped into my head. With everything that's going on in the world, I got a couple of family members on both sides of the family, and they've expressed to me how scared they are in this time, how worried they are, even to the point of, tears. So what do we do about that? Like there's like, regardless of our belief on what's going on, that doesn't matter. There is a scary situation going on. It's scary, whether it's for financial reasons, health reasons, political reasons, like that's just stuff. But there's a place that people are being pulled into trauma. It's been intense, like 9 months of like trauma, fear. Your party's gonna win, my party's gonna win. I'm gonna be caught by this virus, or I've lost my business. Life's never gonna be the same again. Like we're being hit like on every single aspect. All of us, we're all infected.
And Phil, in England, of course, we're hit with Brexit.
Right. Yeah.
So
some people
you guys
love Brexit, some people hate Brexit, all that stuff. Yeah.
So you guys have got the president elections, and we've got Brexit. Do you know what I mean? It's like and God knows what else is going on in everyone else's country. I mean, it's huge.
And then people have one side or the other, and it's like, so we're just going to fight, and then the fear, and we'll come back to that, but just like the fear and the worry that people are in, and it's like, oh, what do we do about that? It's like, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. So there's some, and that's what Tony Robbins talks about as the uncertainty. We're always going to have some level of uncertainty, but we've had full on non-stop uncertainty, and then the opposite side is certainty. If it was all certain, then life would be boring. And then there's the higher levels where we're just in the moment. So there's just different things. But how do we help people? What do we do to kind of break out of that fear, not be in fear? And I suppose people are facing death, like they're scared that they're going to die or they're going to lose a relative. It's just, I'm like throwing up here.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest challenge there, Phil, is, it's a bit of a spiritual cliche, but it's to become the observer,
right?
And actually go, yeah, that might happen. And for everybody to, if you watch the news in England and it goes blah, 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 the news anywhere, it's like, well, is that really true? Is that actually happening?
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not saying that they're lying. I'm not saying that. But if I watch the news, that's not my reality.
Right.
That isn't what's happening. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That isn't what's happening in the village that I live in. That isn't what's happening in my world. I talk to my friends and my family, and it doesn't correlate.
Right.
So what's going on out on the news, on the television, isn't in correlation with my life and what's going on. So if I was to buy into that and believe it, I would then be in that story. So the challenge,
mm-hmm.
The challenge is to stay in my story and not buy into anyone else's story, whatever it is, whether Donald Trump's going to save the world, Biden's going to save the world, for example. Trump's the best. Brexit's the best thing ever. Brexit's the worst thing ever. It's like really to try and stay as neutral, even if you really want Brexit or not Brexit, to stay neutral and go, okay, I've done my bit. I've voted whichever way I voted for whoever I voted for, and then take it back to yourself. I've done my bit. So for me, I went and danced in the stone circle for solstice because I did my bit to raise consciousness, because I think that's going to change. That's the only bit actually where I've got any control over changing, is I'm going to go and do something like that, because number one, it makes me feel better. And if it works, fantastic. And if it doesn't, then it isn't so fantastic. But you know what? I've done my bit and I've enjoyed it on the way. So right. It's, and it's difficult. I know it's easy for me to sit here when I haven't got parents dying or grandparents dying. I've got a really good old lady friend that's locked in an old people's home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the exact opposite, because all she wants to do is die.
Wow.
You know, when I used to go and visit her down the road at home, she'd be like, "Oh, Phil, if you get COVID, will you come and breathe all over me so I can die?" And I was like,
Whoa.
no, not really. Because then, you know, I don't want that responsibility of breathing all over you so you die. It's like, man, what a tough thing to ask me to do. And she's like, but please. And I was like, no, you know, I can't do that because, you know, so
So,
she's in,
so
so,
yeah, go ahead.
so she's in a home now and she doesn't care if they get COVID or not, because all she wants to do is die. So for her, if COVID came to that care home, man, she'd be so chuffed. Because it'd be like, Phil, I can die now. Be like, wow.
So she's just done with this life. She wants to move on. So, which, you know, is okay on a certain level. Maybe it's just like, okay.
Yeah, she's done. Because like she said to me when she was living at home, she said, all I do now is sit in my chair. She said, I can't read my book because I can't follow the story. I have a job to listen to the television, so I've got to have it up so loud and I worry about the neighbours. So it really depends on your perspective. She's had enough. Yeah. She's had enough. And the saddest thing for me actually is visiting her and all she talks about is wanting to die. Because man, that's tough.
Right. We've kind of, society's kind of put these people in that position where these are our wise elders that we should be finding out, you know, more about their lives and what they learn. And we've kind of put them in this perspective that they think they're now not a useful part of society, you know.
Well, for her, it's not so much she doesn't feel a useful part of society. It's the fact that she's losing her function.
Right.
So for her, there's no quality of life anymore. She's sitting in a chair. She can't really look after herself. You know, now she's in a home. She can't go to the kitchen and get her own food. She can't do what she wants to do anymore. And she said, well, what quality of life have I got? But she's she's very conscious. And I did actually have the privilege of sitting with her on many occasions. I mean, I've known her since I was 4 years old. And in recent times, you know, like I found out that her husband was in the 2nd platoon of the commandos in Britain in the Second World War.
Wow.
He never spoke about it. But she's told me stories about him being because the first platoon of the commandos, they all got wiped out on the mission. And then he was in the Navy and they said, who wants to volunteer to be a commando? And he didn't really know what it was. And he said, yes. You know, and he got to live to fight another day, so to speak.
Right.
And she was in the land army. So she got, you know, so she told, I used to go around there and listen to the stories. And man, they were brilliant. So, you know, so the challenge, what I'm getting at there again is to observe whatever's going on around us without getting caught up in it. And it's not easy.
Right.
But it's about observing, becoming the observer, which they talk about a lot in the spiritual realm. And it's really difficult to actually emotionally stand back and say, okay, this is really interesting. This is happening. What does it mean for me? Right. And not go down that Brexit, non-Brexit loop and get so lost in it. Because actually, what does it mean? What does getting out of Europe or getting in Europe, what does it actually mean? We know we're attached to what we think it means. But actually, what does it actually mean? And of course, 5 years down the line, we'll know.
Right.
But
yeah, you use the word there, perception. And I think if we get focused on the media, the news, and we focus on that, we're letting them decide our perception or our perspective on the world, and we get lost in that game. Instead of like the other way is like, okay, I got this information. It's just information. This is what I heard over here. This is what I heard over here. Could be true, maybe not. Maybe it's that's whoever decided to run that news that night decided this is the perception that we want to present and to the world. But it's like, okay, if we look at it, it's like, well, it's just some information. Like, but what is our perception? What is our perspective on life? And it comes back to connecting to the spirit, to the soul.
Yeah, and it's about, we get emotionally embroiled in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And actually it's having the ability to realize that it's a story.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I can tell someone anything about anything, and they can choose to get embroiled in my story,
Right.
or go, actually, that's Phil's story, and yes, it's interesting, but is it going to affect me?
Right. It's that game of where two people are fighting each other to just say, I'm right, no, I'm right, and it's like, well, does it really matter? You know, in the end. And usually after the argument you go, oh, why were we arguing about that? Like, what, why? Like, this other person had a different perception based on their life experiences than I had, but I was really attached to my point of view, my perception. And then we have that, more of that, and that's just on a small level, but we have more of that now, where it's like, okay, my perception is now coming from the media, from the movies. Like, we've been bombarded with an outer perception, and then we're going to like hold on to that so tight. And we see that in the political things, you know, in the US, both sides so attached to their perspective is the right way. And then you see those people, just they're going to be disappointed when it's not quite exactly as they thought it would be.
Well, there's a story that's told, isn't there? Especially in politics, there's a story that they tell that they want you to believe. And you know, I learned this very young when I really got into politics and started following it all and watching it all and paying attention like a good young adult was supposed to. And it's just like, okay, so when they were running to get in, they told me this story, and now they're in, they're telling me this story. And this story is completely different to the other story that I got attached to.
Right.
So what I've learned actually is I can't really take any notice of it all, because it's, and I do sometimes, I get sucked into different stories and different people's perceptions, because that's the human condition. But it's going, oh, I've got sucked into that rabbit hole, I'm going to stop now, because actually, is it beneficial to me?
Mm-hmm.
And actually it's not beneficial to me, because I've got a perceived outcome of what I'm told the outcome is going to be. So actually, what do I want to focus on? I want to focus on being all the way back round again to the best I can possibly be at any one moment in time. So therefore, for me, I'm always focusing on the new me, the new you, new year, new you. So how can I create a new me? How can I create a different perspective? How can I create better relationships, better friendships? How can I communicate better?
Mm-hmm.
How can I be the best me, the best version of myself ever? What does that mean? I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it means going to bed earlier. Maybe it means getting up earlier. Maybe it means doing some breathing exercises before I go to sleep, breathing exercises if I wake up in the night, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it means I need to take more time out and walk in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it means I need to connect with my friends, and that's where, you've been brilliant, actually, Phil, through lockdown, connecting with you every Sunday and spending an hour or 2 hours reminding ourselves and each other about these things, these tools, about not getting lost in rabbit holes that don't serve us. And I think that's a really good question, actually, on your evolutionary path, is, does what I'm doing, exploring, saying, whatever it is, serve me at this moment in time?
Mm-hmm.
And that, that's what I catch myself on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, I've done my bit. I've done what I was supposed to be doing. Now I'm just getting lost and it's not serving me.
Right.
That goes to the way you think, to what you're eating, when you're on your peanut butter sandwiches, and you want to create good consciousness, you want to be more present, you want to be slimmer, fitter, healthier. It's like, okay, here's what I'm eating right now, serving me in my end goal.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and I think that's just, you know, is this going to get me to where I want to get to?
Right.
Whatever, you know, you might be in finance, for example, right, and you want to get to the top of your game. Well, is that can of Coke and that peanut butter actually going to give you the edge to get to the top of your game? And I would suggest not. Whereas taking a nap at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or having some blended watermelon, or having a juice, or meditating, that's going to give you the edge.
And then that comes to what's popping up is, do you love yourself enough to do that?
Oh, that's a corny. That's a corny hard one, isn't it?
Yeah. But do you love yourself enough to eat healthily, to cultivate your inner garden, right? And it's like, we're not rejecting the world in this discussion, because I'm like, well, somebody might be like, well, does that mean I shouldn't be involved in politics, or I shouldn't be involved in this discussion about Brexit or about COVID? It's like, I don't think we're really saying that either. But it's like,
No.
but if we're involved in that and we lose ourselves, I think that's when it becomes an issue. It's like, because, you know, I mean, Gabriel Cousens is a great example. He's very, very deeply spiritual, but he involves himself in doing things that help to create a better world, whether it's peace meditations or building communities or helping people get healthier. So he'll have things that are controversial, but it comes from that place of deep peace within himself, of self-love. And I think that's where we need to start. We need to get back to that. And I wrote something on Facebook the other day. It's just like, come back to loving yourself, and then you'll figure out what to do. And that's a hard one. It's a really hard one, because we all probably have some parts of ourselves that we don't love, or not good enough. I'm not enough, not special, something wrong with me. I'm not meditating enough. Like, you know, my diet's not clean enough.
Well, yeah, I have that one all the time. Yeah. So
Stop it, Phil.
it's not to get paranoid about it all either. It's just to use it as a tool, isn't it? It's to become the observer of you. You know, even when you're not loving yourself and you're beating yourself up, it's to become the observer in it, and you know, and not get lost in that game either. And you know, people use the word balance, and you know, we have to find that balance in ourselves and walk. Well, I remember the first ever personal development course I did years ago. The teacher talked about the razor's edge. You know, and at the time it was kind of a spiritual bit of banter, and I didn't really get it. But now I think I get it now. The razor's edge. You know, you're walking almost on that tightrope, and you can fall off at any side at any moment in time, and that's okay, because you can get up, dust yourself down, and get back on the razor's edge. And also one of the things is about living on that razor's edge. That's where life actually is, isn't it?
I like that. And then getting back up too. So you fall down, you just dust yourself off like you did when you fell off the ladder. Gathered yourself, present. Am I okay? Anything broken? Anything I need to take care of? And then you just keep moving forward. It's like, okay, I fell over, and then you went into like, well, what did I learn from this? Was I not present? And then you're like, okay, I'll be my intention, even if it's just a little tiny bit, I'm going to be more present in what I'm doing and when I'm climbing on the roof, you know. So those little changes are what make the big difference. Not going, okay, I'm going to have this big goal and make all this money. It's like, well, what are the little tiny changes that you can make? Because I heard this years and years ago. I think it was in Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power. It's like, you know, when you in math, you have that little protractor where it's little degrees of like little degrees. But if you think about it, like that little tiny change today, when it gets up the path, it's you know, it's a big change. That little go, okay, and make sure I start my day with 8 ounces of water or 16 ounces of water and lemon. Like I'm going to do that every day. Just like little tiny things. Just like, I mean, it's not a tiny thing, we know, but if you do that every day, that'll make a big difference. So what are those? Maybe we can talk about that. What are those tiny things that we can do that make a big difference?
Yeah, that's a great one, Phil. Actually, little tiny things. So you talked about lemon in the water. So for me, lots of people put a slice of lemon in the water and kind of hope that the juice will come out. So the thing there is to get that slice and actually juice it into the water.
Mhm.
And, you know, for me, I do a whole lemon, I juice a whole lemon, and I stick that in 32 ounces of body temperature water.
Mhm.
32 ounces a litre, yeah. And
Yep.
and I drink that first thing every single morning. And that's my
Right.
that's my morning ritual. First thing in the morning, 32 ounces, a litre of lemon water. Sometimes what I do, if I feel like I need a little bit of fuel in my liver, the medical medium talks about putting honey or other sweeteners in it. What I've done, rarely I do this, but I've been playing with it, is putting 3 or 4 dates in and then blending it all.
Interesting.
And then drinking that as because he talks about the glucose, really important to fuel the liver with glucose first thing in the morning.
Interesting.
So I've only done it twice, I think.
Right.
Because I'm still hell bent on the purity of the water and the
Yeah,
lemon.
I'm with you. I think it's probably a bit of both. I like to I'll do I for me I sometimes I've added a little bit of honey to my water. Generally, I like it plain and simple. I think there's a different hydration factor there, and then I'll have my smoothie not that long after, which has got, you know, fruits and stuff, and I feel like that's where I'm getting my sweet from. But yeah, occasionally if I've had a very tiring night or something, whatever, I was working hard or stressed or something, then that sometimes that little extra sweetener in that morning water is good. What's really interesting though is I've had this practice for a few years of drinking that water in the morning. I will know later in the day if I didn't do that. Like there's this feeling in my body that something is not right. And it's like, it's a little change, but I will feel more agitated during the day if I didn't start the day with that. And I don't know what it is. Is it flushing out my system from sleep in the night? Is it helping my lymph? Is it just hydrating my body? I don't know what it's doing, you know, on that level, but it's big. And it's a really, really big thing.
And it's also alkalizing, Phil, isn't it? So, you know, maybe you didn't get that initial, and also what it does first thing in the morning is it really washes all that staleness out of your digestive tract, as well as alkalizing and hydrating. You know, it does that. It washes that all out. So I start first thing in the morning with a liter of lemon water, and then if I'm at work and I'm going off to site, I drink half a litre, which is 16 ounces of neat celery juice. And if I'm at home, then I drink 32 ounces a litre of celery juice.
Right.
Which is about 3 packets of celery juice.
That's like 3 full stalks. That full.
Yeah. Three full heads.
Some people call it a head, a stalk. Some people say a stalk is just one, but I think you mean like the full head of celery.
The bunch. The
bunch. How is a bunch? Is it a head? Is it a bunch? Is it a stalk?
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know.
It's a celery thing. It's that thing that we get in the supermarket.
And something else that I've been finding in the mid-afternoon actually is blended watermelon.
Interesting.
That's.
You think it's like a pick-me-up in the afternoon? It like kind of hydrates you?
Definite. It's, for me, it's a definite pick-me-up hydration in the afternoon. You know, when I was working in the summer and I was working 2 doors down from home, I could come back at 3 o'clock and I'd make 64 ounces. So it was half a watermelon. I'd cut it up, blend it all, and take it back down for me and the guy my mate that I was working with, and we would share a 2 litre 64 ounces of watermelon juice. And he was like, wow, Phil, that's actually amazing. You know, that really, I can feel that doing something in my body. And he'd never done it. He'd never done it before.
I mean, that's great. It's like those simple things and those simple experiences. What I used to tell people when I was at the Tree of Life and teaching the conscious eating workshops or the apprenticeship program is people have no idea how these foods make them feel, like healthy, whole foods. Like they don't have those experiences. So then they don't know what to turn to when they need something. So if you're only used to, when you've got low energy, of the extreme of grabbing a soda or grabbing a candy bar or sweetie or whatever, it's like, if that's your only experience, then when you're stressed, you're going to go for that. But if you start to like shift and go, okay, I'm gonna get lots of experiences. I remember when I first got into raw food, it was like I hated bananas, so I was like eating bananas, and eventually it's like, oh, bananas, I know what those are now. Like I had a bad relationship with it. I know it sounds like a weird thing, but it's like,
No,
hey, I
that's
drink
cool.
some watermelon. I know what watermelon juice is now in my body. Or it's like whether it's seaweeds or a different type of salad, or if it's a superfood. Like I
Or
start to
spirulina, Phil. Tell us about your spirulina trip.
I love spirulina and I still do it a lot. But yeah, the tree of life, like pretty much for a whole year, I was dumping spirulina on my salad every single day. It's just like mouth covered in spirulina. Just it was basically I was living on kale and spirulina.
So I remember at one point you were doing like 12 tablespoons of spirulina a day.
Really? Oh God. Oh my God.
Well,
Now I'm probably doing like I just shake it on. So maybe a couple of like a tablespoon or something, I think.
I mean, Gabriel got me on 6 tablespoons a day when I was at the tree.
Well, I think some like and I think there are times for that. Like we may eat really simply now, and like a lot of time I'll go a lot of the morning and I just have my smoothie and my water, and that's about it. I'm pretty satisfied. But when you're getting into eating healthier, sometimes you need like 6 tablespoons of spirulina, or you need a green powder. There's some great green powders out there, or you need a green powder, or I need something to satisfy me, or I need 6 bananas in the morning. But that's not going to be forever. You're not going to do that many bananas in one. You might, but not necessarily. So it might be like, right now my body's cleaner, so a couple of bananas and I'm good to go. Or it's a transition process getting into healthier eating. It's like, and like David Wolf says, it's like add in. What are you going to add in? Well, I'm going to add in water, and I'm going to add in a salad every day. It's like I'm not going to necessarily throw all these things out that I know are bad for me. It's like, but I'll add a salad. And my dad did that like very successfully. It's like he didn't suddenly go, okay, I'm giving up meat. It's like just added a salad in, or added more vegetables in with his meat. Like he got more of that fresh food in with what he was eating, and then it was easier to just like, oh, maybe I don't need this, so much of this anymore. I can eat less of it because this is my majority. And celebrating those little changes, those little add-ins.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. And that's where something simple like the lemon water is great. You can add in, and then when you've drunk half a pint, quarter of a litre, half a litre, a litre, then you don't want the other stuff that you wanted. And and in the afternoon, like either eating watermelon or for me, blending watermelon is just incredible. But blending it, because then you'll get it, or eating it whole, you're getting a whole food. Even if it's blended, you're still getting the basics of a whole food,
right?
It's all in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, for me, actually, out of all the things I've done over all of the years, I think watermelon in the afternoon is the best thing I've ever done. Out of all the stuff I've ever done, that's been the most powerful for me.
So do you blend in like the seeds and then like that kind of part of the white of the rind, or is it mainly you do?
I do all of it apart from the green. I get quite a lot of that. I follow that skin around with the white.
There's something in there, right? That is really nourishing. And then
there's something in the white.
The seeds have got the minerals in there that are really good for us.
And the other great thing about the watermelon seeds that are in the watermelon, they're not dried.
Mm.
So they're still active. So they're basically they're activated seeds, right? They're not they're not this dead dormant seed that's full of because I went through all this in my mind about the watermelon seeds and I shouldn't be eating them because they're seeds. And then it's like, actually they're activated seeds because they're full of life force, because they're ready to go.
Right. So do you blend this really smooth, or is it maybe more like kind of a chunky blend, or what do you do?
I blend it really smooth because I want to be able to digest the seeds.
Right. Okay.
So I blend it. It doesn't actually need blending very long, probably 20 or 30 seconds, because the seeds are still soft. They blend really easily. Yeah.
Good. All right. I don't know if there's anything else. I think this is good. This is a good step for the new year. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or are we?
No, I think actually, Phil, for a New Year blast, we've done it. I think hopefully we've added in enough for people to think about and actually to be useful.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it was useful for me, so I mean that's a good thing.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah,
If
absolutely.
it's if it's useful for us and it's taking us deeper inside and into our path, then I would imagine some people will resonate with that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like an affirmation, isn't it? It's reminding us, sharing our knowledge, because we've both got a whole wealth of information to share with each other, and to and support each other and remind each other and share with each other what we're doing, so we can add in different aspects of what the other's doing, which is brilliant.
So tell me about Sarmando, who's coming on next week.
Samado,
Mardo, sorry.
he's Samado Sibley. He's a 5-star Michelin trained chef.
Mm-hmm.
So he's worked at some very prestigious restaurants. I was connected with him from a friend of mine down in Forest Row in the east of England, and we connected with each other early in December. I think my friends have been trying to get us to connect for like 8 or 10 years, and I was like, right, I'm going to make this effort. I'm going to connect with him. I'm going to get him on the show, and we had a chat for about an hour and a half. It was incredible, and I was like, well, we should have recorded this because it would have made a great show.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I really want to talk with Samado about next week, Phil, is conscious kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's got some really, now he's become conscious in his kitchen, which he is incredibly conscious in his kitchen. He's got a great journey of coming from a Michelin restaurant, which actually is potentially so unconscious it is unbelievable, to a place now where he knows exactly, some things, who's grown it, where it's come from, and he cares about what's in it. He cares about the quality. He cares about it right from the person that's planted it in the ground to the person that's going to eat it. And so I feel really privileged to have connected with Samado, and the fact that he's going to come on our show and talk to us about, I guess, whatever we ask him questions about. So one of the things that I enjoyed the most for Samado, for his journey coming through from a professional kitchen into a spiritual kitchen.
Love it.
And that's a great thing to add into that new year, new you. It's like, be conscious when you prep your food. Be conscious. Think about where your food's coming from, what you're doing with it, who you're with, how you're connecting, are you getting distracted? And we'll tell stories. I'm sure we've all got stories to share there, Phil, about being in the kitchen and being distracted, or
that'll be fun.
Having fun, or whatever it is. We've all three of us have got a lot to share on kitchen antics. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be great fun.
Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, another great Phil and Phil show. We really appreciate anybody who's watching us. If you absolutely love our show and you want to donate so we can pay for Zoom services and things like that, just go to philandphil.com, and I started putting a few articles up there just for fun, but that will connect you to a place to donate with PayPal, totally secure. And then also it will connect to where our show is available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, our Facebook channel, all those things. So we got all those channels. We put all our shows out in all those different places. So we are very accessible, and any requests, anything you like us to share about, you want to know more about our experiences, or you have a special guest you think could be on the show, anything like that.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching that they think they could add to our show, if someone like Samado or Gabriel or anyone like that's got a lot of information and knowledge, real life knowledge, and you want to come on the show, approach us. Let's have a chat. Let's connect, and see if we think we're gonna work.
Great. Well, I'm Phil.
And I'm Phil.
And this has been another episode of the Phil and Phil Show.
Thanks for watching, guys. Love you all. Appreciate you loads.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.